Yesterday, a civil jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation and ordered him to pay $5 million in damages. The jury was made up of 6 men and 3 women and was held in New York. And the case was brought forward by Jean Carroll. She's a famous columnist and writer. She had a very popular advice column in Elle magazine for decades. And she asserts that Trump raped her in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room back in 1996. And she says that she was helping him with some shopping, and they ended up in a dressing room where he then forced himself on her. She said it was unclear if it was penile or digital rape. Trump denies the claims, saying that he never met the woman ever in his life, and that on top of that, she wasn't his type. So he'd never do that sort of a thing. And the issue was E. Jean Carroll was able to produce a photograph of her talking to Trump, proving that they had in fact met. And on top of that, during his deposition, when he was shown the photograph, he mistook Carroll for his ex-wife, Marla Maples. Watch this.
Um, I don't even know who the woman. Let's see. I don't know who. It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No, that's
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that?
The person you just pointed to was
I
E. Jean
see.
Carroll.
Who is that? Who is
First
this?
point, your wife.
And the woman on the right is your then wife,
I don't know.
Ivana?
This was the picture.
Ivana.
I assume that's John Johnson. Is that
That's Carol.
Carol? Because it's very blurry.
Okay, so this showed the jury that since he married Marla Maples, then you can assume he was attracted to her since she was his wife. And then if he mistook E. Jean Carroll for a woman he married, then she's probably his type. So that's kind of where we're thinking maybe the jury thought. Now, this was a civil case, not a criminal one. So the burden of proof is held to a different standard. In a criminal case, you have to prove someone did something beyond a reasonable doubt. But in a civil case like this, there are 2 other standards used, both of them lower than without a reasonable doubt. They have preponderance of evidence and clear and convincing evidence. Now, preponderance of evidence just means that you think the evidence shows that there's at least a 50% chance the person is guilty. So they're definitely not innocent, but they're definitely not necessarily guilty. It could still go either way because there's no evidence that says yes, they're definitely innocent. There's no real evidence saying they're definitely guilty, but you're like, I'm leaning towards guilty. Now, clear and convincing evidence is one step above that. You're pretty sure they're guilty, but the evidence isn't bulletproof. There's no smoking gun per se. So this case was all based on preponderance of evidence. So the jury just had to think there was a good chance Trump did it based on the evidence, except on one point regarding defamation, where they had to use the standard of clear and convincing evidence. Now, the jury decided there was plenty of evidence to believe Trump made false statements about E. Jean Carroll, and he did it maliciously. Now, they did not find Trump liable for rape, and maybe that had to do with her recollection being unclear about what actually happened. But whatever their reason, they didn't think there was enough evidence to even think there was a 50% chance that he raped her. They did, however, believe that she experienced some sort of sexual abuse. And so they did find him liable for that, and they awarded Carroll about $2 million. They also found that there was enough evidence to find him liable for defamation, and for that, they gave her $3 million, so $5 million in total. Now, Trump intends to appeal this case, so it's not over yet. With us now is someone who is waiting for her day in court, Tara Reid. Tara says Joe Biden sexually assaulted her back in 1993 when she was working as a Senate aide, yet no Democrats care to investigate her claims. Tara, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here. Thank you, Kim.
So, with your case, now that you see this with E. Jean Carroll and potentially, and now possibly Trump's going to have to pay her $5 million. I mean, of course, he's going to appeal it, but he might lose the appeal. You never know. But does this give you some hope that maybe, you could do something similar against Joe Biden?
Well, to that, I have mixed feelings about it. First of all, she's in New York, and New York just expanded their statute of limitations. So that went to her favor, number one. Number two, she was able to overcome the anti-SLAPP, which in a defamation suit if you bring forward a defamation suit, say against a media company or whatever, a person, it's really hard to overcome the anti-SLAPP. And in fact, you can end up incurring all kinds of money charges. So I've been getting all kinds of messages like, hey, are you going to file suit against Joe Biden? Well, let me remind you that her champion is Roberta Kaplan. Now, Roberta Kaplan was with Time's Up. I went to Time's Up for help and to file a lawsuit. And how that ended up is they actually, Kaplan ended up having to step down for her discrediting Cuomo survivors. And also my case came up too. And I was unable to get help from Time's Up because it's very partisan.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would get the same outcome as E. Jean Carroll. I would like to, but E. Jean Carroll has elite privilege, money. She had Democratic backing. And she had Roberta Kaplan, who, when a Democrat's accused, apparently, her hypocrisy is to not support those survivors. So she actually had to step down from Time's Up, and now Time's Up has been dismantled completely as a catch and kill for the elites. And so, basically what I want to say about that is this isn't a red team, blue team, fight, sexual assault. Sexual assault is nonpartisan. And yet more and more we see that. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to discount her results. That's good. If a person has their day in court and they achieve the results that they wanted, that's wonderful. But we need an even playing field. We need that to be equal for everyone, not just politically motivated.
Yeah. Now, and I want to bring this up about whether or not I think Trump is guilty or innocent of this, because I know a lot of people are looking at this case and saying this is a political witch hunt. And there's no doubt that Trump has been subject to a political witch hunt. And you're right. I mean, to your point, the reason why they even went after him for this, the reason why E. Jean Carroll even got her day in court was because they're really doing everything they possibly can to take this guy down. They do not want him running for president, which he is running. They do not want him to be sitting back in that Oval Office. So there is a concerted effort, there's no doubt, to remove Trump, remove him as a player in the game. But that being said, the guy did openly say, oh, you could grab him by the pussy if you're famous. And in this case, E. Jean Carroll is saying, and that's what he did to me. And not only that, but there's like 17 other women who say, yeah, this is how he behaved. Personally, I have no doubt the guy behaved like this. I mean, I think that he was kind of a scoundrel. There's a lot of, with women, I think that there's a lot of women out there who say, yeah, Trump was the type of guy. I know people who personally know him and say he was kind of, this type of person who, just behaved, behaved in a very entitled and in some ways entitled towards women. And so I personally believe that this probably happened to E. Jean Carroll. I think the jury probably did a right thing by saying, okay, well, we can't prove rape. That's pretty serious and egregious to claim rape. We can't claim that, but we probably think that this guy probably went into a dressing room and grabbed her by the pussy. That's what he said he did. So, but, so she got her day in court, but that's because that's a political thing. And that's what's so unfortunate about this. I mean, here you are, you have a very similar claim. Again, also Joe Biden, to me, a similar type of guy where we've got a history of women saying, he creeped me out. We got photographs of him being creepy. There's a known history of him being a creeper. Same thing with Donald Trump when it comes to women. So it should be fair and square, equal, that you then get your day in court the same way that she got her day in court against Donald Trump. But you're not getting it because it's partisan. And Democrats don't want to bring your case forward. But Republicans seem to want to. There are some Republicans. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. They've been talking to. Now, this would be different. So tell me, what kind of a case would it be if it's Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because E. Jean Carroll did a civil suit. It's different. He's not, Donald Trump's not found guilty of crimes in this. He's just found liable. What would be the difference with this? With if you go in front of Congress, what would that be like? Is that a criminal case at that point?
I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, the other thing too with Donald Trump is that being Donald Trump and being very outspoken, he basically committed, defamed, right? E. Jean Carroll, according to the court case, very outwardly. If you note in my case, Joe Biden has only given one interview and one statement about it. That's it the whole time. And
We
that was
actually
to
have
his
that.
friend.
Why don't we
Yeah,
play
go
that?
ahead.
That's to
Yeah.
Brzezinski?
Hmm.
Yeah, here it is.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for coming on the show this morning. We have
Happy to be
a
with
lot
you.
we want to ask you this morning. Joe and Willie will join in just a moment for questions on how you would handle this pandemic, the campaign, and other news of the day. But at the start, it's just going to be you and me. And I want to get right to the allegation made against you by Tara Reade. So the former Senate aide accuses you of sexual assault. And please, to our viewers, please excuse the graphic nature of this, but I want to make sure that there is no question as to what we're talking about. She says in 1993, Mr. Vice President, that you pinned her against the wall and reached under her clothing and penetrated her with your fingers. Would you please go on the record with the American people? Did you sexually assault Tara Reade?
No, it is not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened. And it didn't. It never happened.
Okay. So that's the one
So
time
if
he
you
said anything.
notice, yeah,
Yeah.
with defaming someone, right? He didn't say my name. He didn't say right there. He said it didn't have. He followed almost like
Right.
what Bill Clinton did, right? He was very careful with his wording because then he would have been open to a lawsuit. Whereas Donald Trump was a little more,
Donald
verbose,
Trump,
if you will.
right? Because Donald Trump's Donald Trump.
Right.
So of course he would go around saying she's crazy. I don't know who that,
Mhm.
and go and smear the person and say all the things that Donald Trump would naturally say. But that was only part of her case. I mean, that did result in $3 million of the $5 million ruling, the defamation part, but 2 million came from the actual event itself, and
Right.
and the jury believing with that preponderance that of evidence, which is just there's enough for me to suspect that this happened. And I think in your case, there is enough to suspect. You've got a phone call from your mother into Larry King Live saying this back
Mhm.
when this happened. You've got a neighbor, I believe, that you spoke to about this. I mean, you have the same things that obviously
And
there
there's a
would
legal
be.
document. There's two different legal documents that memorialize it. One from a restraining order from my ex-husband, who wrote about it in 1994 or 95, I think is when that was written. And then, of course, the document I filed that's somewhere in the University of Delaware under seal. So that
Right. So we'd have
Biden
to.
hasn't given up. So you have the written documents. I have several witnesses that said that they would be willing to testify, but they're also frightened, too. There's a lot of intimidation with coming forward about a Democrat. They're in power right now. So,
Well, or,
yeah.
or anybody. I'm sure E. Jean Carroll's not having I'm sure it's
No, I'm sure,
I'm sure
the
it's not easy.
Republicans went after her too. Yeah,
Right, right,
absolutely.
right. Okay. Well, hopefully Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz actually follow through, and maybe you will have your day in court, at least in front of Congress. If not, then maybe pursue it the same way that E. Jean Carroll did. I don't know. There might be something there, at some point.
I think so.
Um,
The congressional hearing will, I think, be a safe place for other women to come forward, and it would also be, it would bring to light Biden's corruption in general and who he is and a pattern of behavior. And I think it would be really important to have it. So I hope I'm able to go under oath and to tell what happened to me. I don't know if that will happen or not yet, but they have said it would. I tweeted something that got their attention again, and they reaffirmed
yeah,
that they were going to have.
I actually want to, I'm glad you brought it up because I just wanted to bring up this tweet. You said, I want to make something clear. If something happens to me, all roads lead to Joe Biden. Joe Biden and the DNC political machine threats, bullying, and intimidation over the last 3 years will not work. I am not suicidal. I should not be under investigation, nor am I a foreign agent. I am a private citizen. I was a former staffer of Joe Biden's that has chosen to step forward to tell the truth. The tactics using intimidation and bullying to silence me and suppress me using DOJ and FBI and social media will not work. Leave me alone. I will testify under oath in Congress if asked to do so and tell what happened and what I know. The Biden corruption must end, period. Thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz for inviting me to testify and caring about the truth. Have you been threatened? This sounds like you've been threatened.
Yeah, a lot. It was a lot more in 2019 and 2020. And then recently it started up again. Coincidentally, the election's coming again. So I don't know if these are paid trolls or if they're, just kind of crazies, you don't know. But yeah, a message that I've been getting repeatedly lately has been, are you suicidal yet? Are you, and I'm just putting it out there. No, I'm not. And I don't want, I just decided to put it out there preemptively. I'm tired of the attacks and the threats and the veiled threats that people are giving me via email. I've also had some weird things kind of go on. And the sad thing, Kim, is that when certain things go on, you want to make a police report, right? Or go for help. But I don't feel like I can do that because, the way Biden has weaponized the DOJ and FBI against citizens that have spoken up. So it's kind of it's a very difficult time to be
Yeah.
coming up against the president of the United States.
Well, speaking of the president of the United States and corruption, I want to talk now about the big news that came out today alleging more of Joe Biden's crimes. Today, the House Oversight Committee came out with a series of details laying out very large payments between various foreign entities in Romania and China, and several members of the Biden family, including Hunter, his deceased brother Beau's widow, Hallie, Joe Biden's brother James, and an unnamed Biden, all which happened while Joe Biden was vice president. So the committee gained this information through subpoenaed bank records. At this point, there's nothing illegal uncovered because it's unknown what the payments were for, and that's part of the game. You got to know what the payment was for before you could say it was totally illegal. Joe Biden himself is not named in the records from the congressional oversight, but the payments themselves do raise definite eyebrows. And any rational person would deduce that the Bidens were clearly cashing in on Joe Biden being vice president at the time. I mean, what skill set does Hunter have or his sister-in-law Hallie have in order to warrant millions of dollars in payments? So the bank records show that within 5 weeks of Biden meeting with Romanian president in 2015, a Romanian named Gabriel Popoviciu, who Hunter Biden was doing legal consulting for, sent $3 million from November 2015 to May of 2017 to a guy named Rob Walker, who is a business associate of Hunter's. Walker then wired approximately $1 million in various installments to Hunter and then his business associate named James Gillian and Hallie Biden, the widow. And the question is, why was Popoviciu paying, if I'm saying that right, Popoviciu, paying a Biden family business associate directly instead of the law firm where Hunter Biden worked at the time? And then why did Hunter's associate wire money to Biden and even Hallie Biden? Plus, very similar transactions were made regarding a Chinese business. The business paid Walker $3 million. Walker then subsequently made wire transfers to companies associated with Hunter Biden and the president's brother James, and also Hallie Biden, as well as, in that instance, an unknown bank account identified as Biden. So, Tara, I'm curious, what do you make of this? I mean, look at this as they're shell companies. I mean, what this oversight committee basically laid out, and they made this graphic, and they said, the payments came from China, this company that went to this gentleman who then created a company that then it went to this gentleman, and then it went to this company, and then the money, all these shell companies where the money transferred around, like as if you're trying to hide a trail of money. And then the money finally ends up in Hunter Biden's pockets, in Hallie Biden's pocket, which is weird, unknown Biden's pocket, the brother Biden. What do you make of this?
I mean, I think what's another remarkable piece of this too is that they started out with like 4 banks and now it's up to 11 banks, that they were kind of moving this through, and more family members. I think there's 9 or more. But but what this says is that obviously that there are some nefarious things going on. Now people try to blame just Hunter, but you see the pattern of behavior. You saw the arrogance that Joe Biden showed when he when he fired that prosecutor that was going to look into Hunter Biden back in the day in Ukraine. I think this is all pointing towards that corruption and, like the FTC scandal and everything that's going on with Ukraine. And I personally think that there's signs that there's a money laundering operation. And I think a lot of other people do too. So was Joe Biden peddling influence while he was vice president? Was he engaged in taking money from foreign nationals that are not considered allies of the United States? And I think that's the main question. And that alone is an impeachable offense. It also opens up to FARA violations, the Foreign Registration Act, and Hunter Biden. So so this started out as like a Hunter Biden kind of scandal, and then now has expanded to the whole Biden family.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bidens involved in this. What's interesting is the oversight committee chair, who's a Republican, basically said, what they intend is to use this to make laws, to prevent this. That he actually said that people on both sides of the aisle have worried that presidents on both sides of the aisle have been enriching themselves and their family members by being president of the United States, and he wants to somehow put
Right.
some measures in place to prevent that. And I suspect it's been going on probably beginning with Reagan, to be honest with you. I think Carter might have been the last president to not get rich. After that, I think Reagan and Reagan also did do a lot of deregulation that would allow for these types of transactions and things are opaque. We're not getting so it could
Well,
be that.
look at Obama. Look at Obama, right?
Right.
He became the first multi-million-dollar president
I
after,
think he's
like when he went into
billions.
office, he was not. He was, in
Yeah.
fact, had trouble. He was like just paying for his apartment in DC and like trying to bounce around. And then all of a sudden, when he became president right afterwards, he's the first multi-millionaire.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think they say his empire is worth billions of dollars. The Obamas because of their Netflix deals and stuff, but it's a lot of money. And but it, look, okay, if you're going to make money off of a book deal, if you're going to make money off of a Netflix deal, okay, fine. But what we're seeing here with this, what the oversight committee is showing with the Bidens is peddling of influence. What,
Mhm.
and of course they don't have the smoking gun yet, but we're not stupid. What have the Bidens done? I mean, what has Joe Biden done in his life besides be a politician? So how could he have
Right.
possibly, and what has Hunter done that would
Right.
make him qualified to be getting $1 million? And then what has Hallie Biden done to then get that? And the one thing that the oversight committee said, because they were pressed and they said, well, what about looking into Trump? Are you going to do the same thing and look at the Trump family? And he says, look, I might not like the businesses of the Trumps, but I at least know what their business is. I mean, they came into the office with business. We know what their businesses are, but he says, I don't know what the Biden's businesses are. I mean, that's the
No, I mean,
problem.
like Hunter is like trying to push himself off as some sort of energy mogul. No, I mean, like that's not who he was. And then now I
Yeah,
think one of the whistleblowers is from the art gallery because remember that he was getting like $1 million or something for art all of a sudden. Like who was paying for that? And so I
right.
think one of the whistleblowers is coming forward to talk about is Hunter Biden truly an artist, or you know what I mean, like how that money went through to
Yeah.
him. And
I
but
would
all of this
imagine,
is
though, all of this is going to
just.
fall on Hunter. I think if
Mhm.
more of this comes out and they do find that there's money that was taken from such and such energy company in Romania or China or Ukraine or wherever, and the money went through this friend of Hunter, this associate of Hunter Biden's, and then it was distributed. My guess is they're going to figure out a way to where Hunter takes the fall. Hunter ends up the one in jail. None of the other Bidens do. Hunter would probably even take the fall for the family. Maybe. I mean, you kind of assume that type of thing would happen, but I don't think Biden's gonna ever. I don't think they're ever going to implicate him. I don't think. I just think they'll say,
You don't think
okay,
they'll
Hunter
impeach
did
him?
all these
I
bad
wonder.
things.
I wonder if they're
No.
holding back a little bit and they're going to bring forth impeachment. I don't know. But these are impeachable offenses. I mean, I
Well,
think one of the
certainly, if it
serious
was Trump,
concerns.
they
Mhm.
would already be, lining up the impeachment. But at this point with Biden, they're definitely much more reluctant. And this is, I mean, if he was truly selling, peddling influence while he was sitting vice president of the United States, that absolutely should disqualify him for office. But that also might be what Democrats want at this point. They might want him to kind of sail off into the sunset, and he might pull a Nixon,
True, but
possibly.
it's also the question of if he was compromised. That's a big question. And all the confidential documents and everything that were found in his garage or his Corvette, like that story kind of disappeared too. They keep
Right.
protecting Biden, but at some point it's like Cuomo, because remember with Cuomo, they kept
Yeah.
protecting him, and then they got tired and they eventually threw him under the bus. We might be reaching that fatigue with the DNC leadership pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, Tara, thank you so much for being here and telling us more of your story. Tara Reid. You could get her book, Left Out When the Truth Doesn't Fit In, author of this book. Thank you so much, Tara.
Thank you.
Well, guys, let me tell you about a great new product I've been using, Field of Greens. The Field of Greens powder is a great way to get all of your fruits and vegetables into your daily diet. These are freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. They're organic. They do a very good job of selecting which fruits and vegetables to put into the mix to make sure that you get the most potent vitamins and nutrients into your diet. And it tastes great. I love the lemon lime flavor, and it tastes like iced green tea with lemon. And I mix it now into my iced tea. I make a sun tea and I put this in it, and it just tastes really great. So I love Field of Greens. They also have a new product. Brick House has a new product called Lean. This one will help you curb your cravings. This will help metabolize fat. This will keep you on track in your weight loss journey. So you can grab Lean, you can grab Field of Greens. You can get that from their site, fieldofgreens.com. You can use the promo code Kim, and you're going to get 15% off your first order. And those are the two products I really recommend. I really like those, the Field of Greens Lemon Lime and also the Lean, which doesn't give me the shakes, and it definitely gives you some energy, and it definitely curbs cravings. So those are the products I recommend. Fieldofgreens.com. Use that promo code Kim to get 15% off your first order.